This is the Relevant Podcast.
It's episode 1242, and it's the Relevant Podcast here in Orlando. I'm your host, Cameron Strang, and joining me from Loverland, Virginia is Jesse Carey.
Hello, hello.
From Nashville, artist, producer, mogul, Derek Miner.
What's happening?
And just down the street there, our managing editor, downtown, Emily Brown.
Hey, y'all.
Happy Women's History Month, Emily. I don't know if you're celebrating.
Thank you. I've been waiting all month for someone to tell me that.
It's an inside joke. She brings it up every day. Every day.
I bring it up every 5 minutes. You will say the most random things, and it has nothing to do with women or gender in general. And I'm like, really? During Women's History Month?
What is your favorite moment in the history of women?
Oh, I mean, can you just pick one?
No. I'm not saying to reduce it to one. I'm just saying to
Is it
reduce.
the suffrage movement?
I'm just saying, like,
Adam
your
and Eve?
personal favorite.
You think that I'm thrilled about women suffering? Is that what I'm hearing, Cameron?
No, I do not want women to suffer, Emily. I was referring to suffrage, but
That.
Nonetheless,
I
okay.
actually, as you were talking, I wanted to change my answer. Specifically the movie Legally Blonde. I do feel like that was a really big peak moment for women. And so I'm actually just going to put the premiere of Legally Blonde as my favorite history of women.
So as a person that's never seen Legally Blonde, but...
you can't admit that during Women's History Month. Come on, Derek.
Yeah, just not my crowd. Why?
like women can do anything they put their minds to is basically the message of this.
Oh,
movie.
okay.
I was going to say like Joan of Arc or someone like that. Like this warrior.
Nah, Reese Witherspoon in a pink power suit kind of did a lot for me.
Done.
So
Said enough. Easy enough.
Bloody Mary, big hero of yours. Like Emily, she just killed all the Protestants.
I mean, not mad about that.
I just watched another Reese Witherspoon movie the other month or the other night. And I'm convinced like streaming is killing comedy, like comedic movies. Like it's doing
Are
a
you
lot
talking
for
about You're
stand-up.
Cordially Invited?
Yes. It felt like a movie whose comedy was written for an algorithm and it just didn't work. You know, like I feel like streaming has done a tremendous amount for like stand-up comedy. And I would even say for podcasting, you know, beyond sort of traditional streaming, but like YouTube and outlets like that. Right. But, you know, commercial comedy film, and maybe this goes for all movies, just feel like they're getting really bad and are made like there is some algorithmic approach to how they're created that maybe I'm misinterpreting it, but it just doesn't seem like a lot of these work. Are you guys on the same page?
They're made for trailers, it feels like almost. You know?
I just saw a post. What was the Russo brothers? Is that the
the Electric State? Yeah.
That movie.
Yeah.
That movie that just flopped.
Yeah, I just saw him quoted saying, if you're going to complain about the algorithmic approach of movies these days, because he's saying, I had to do that terrible movie the way I did it because of the platform. I mean, like, that's just what the restrictions of it now. He's like, if you don't like that, do something about it. Like, unsubscribe from Netflix and watch movies in the theaters. And like, he was basically telling the audience, don't blame me for making a terrible movie. It's your fault. That's what he basically said.
To me, like, that's passing the buck. He's an artist, right? Like, I'm not throwing shade at the Russo brothers here, but like, do you know what film they directed prior to when they really blew up with Endgame? Because they directed Endgame,
Right.
and that was sort of the thing. Don't ask me how I know this, but one of their early films was You, Me, and Dupree with Owen Wilson and Matt Dillon and Kate Hudson, right? Like, just a down the middle, you know, probably about a 40% Rotten Tomato, aughts comedy.
That's generous.
Okay.
Wasn't bad, wasn't good.
It was a movie.
I don't think I need.
It was a Friday night, you know, you're going out with
I don't
friends.
need the
just go
director
see
of
it.
You, Me, and Dupree lecturing me on commerce and art here. Okay. I like You, Me, and Dupree. I actually think it's an underrated comedy.
I will say this as a creative, though. There is a little bit of, I don't know if it's perceived or if it's actually true, but there's a part of you that's like, in the past, it used to be, okay, let's make this amazing piece of art. And you were making for the theaters, but now you're making them more based on people's personal habits. And the easiest thing to draw to is like the sensational or like the weird. So I was talking with my nephew about this today, like even the music artist back in the past, like you could actually create this art, people would invest in it, and it would get time and investment for the culture to the culture would actually react to the art that's being created as opposed to the art reacting to culture right now. And I think just the way the speed of things are, it makes it a lot harder to do that. And then another thing that Mr. B said, which I mean, he's one of the biggest creators on the planet, he said, every time you say algorithm, you have to replace algorithm with audience. Because he's like, all the algorithms do is just get the stuff to the audience that cares about it. So that's kind of a challenge as well. Because in the past, we used to be able to just funnel all movie listeners into the movie theaters. And then the stuff they went to see, you knew was going to work. And the stuff they didn't, you didn't know was going to work. Now, how do people even consume movies now? I mean, you got Netflix, you got Disney Plus, you got YouTube, you got Tubi, and it's all different listeners and all different people. It's hard to pin all those people down and make something that all of those people like. So it's a challenge. It is a challenge.
I will, just along these lines, I know people don't want to hear us, talk too much about AI, but I feel like this puts a bow on our little. Have you guys heard about Staircase Studios?
Mm-mm.
It's a new film studio that is using like really high-end AI. It looks pretty good, right? But what they're doing is they're buying Hollywood scripts that have been floated around for years, but for one reason, like from really good, some are spec, right? Some of these people go out to Hollywood, they write a spec script and it floats around studios, it gets bought for a while or tied up in rights. But there's a whole list of these scripts that are evidently incredible scripts from screenwriters that just ended up never getting made for one reason or other. They are buying them, and then they're using their AI tool to make the movies.
That's an interesting idea.
And so their business model, so their margins are so much lower because their
margins are higher, their costs are lower.
Yeah, exactly. What they have to do to meet their margins, should I say, is much lower, right? So so they can go and take chances with scripts that are out there and weird and aren't written for an algorithm, and just hope. I listened to an interview with the CEO of the company, and he said it was sort of like the early Blumhouse model, where they would make these $5 million horror movies, right? But hope one of them hits. And hope they get a Get Out or one of these movies that they're taking big risk because their margins are low, and throw a lot of noodles at the wall. But this studio happens to do it through AI. It's called Staircase Studios. They're about to release their first feature.
So the whole film is AI?
Entirely. There's voice acting, but that's it.
Wow.
All right.
Interesting.
All right.
I mean,
welcome to the jungle. We have fun and games.
Sadly going to be the future. I mean,
but I guess how it works is a really interesting model. They buy the script, they find a director, but the director works with AI professionals to craft the prompts for the film. So each one will have its own. The director still has its own style, but they're working with AI prompts.
There you go. So I don't know how to pivot to this, but you were gone for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I've been doing
working on an
traveling.
AI movie.
The weird thing was Jesse, you weren't here last week, but we announced a big shift. We're going to one show a week. Big changes. So we got talking about it a little bit. I'm not going to belabor it, but in August is our 20th anniversary of this podcast.
Wow.
And so between now and then, we're going to be doing a lot of changes to the show, getting it to video, updating it, refresh format. We're just evolving it. We're not ripping the Band-Aid off. One of the big things we're also doing, listeners, you need to know this. I'll remind you of this at the end of the show. We've been doing all of our kind of fan interaction stuff over on Twitter for years and years and years. Well, now that it's X, things have changed, and I don't feel good sending our podcast community over to a porn platform.
So here's the pivot. Instead of podcast clips, we're now going to post raw fight videos.
Yes.
Right in the podcast feed.
what I was gonna say is this week.
Oh my ghetto hood fights.
This week
a lot
we
of that on
launched
X
the
these
Relevant
days.
Podcast Instagram account and Threads account. So on IG, we'll be posting more video from the show, more clips from the show. This is where the question of the week will live, all that kind of stuff over a Relevant Podcast IG. Go follow us, everybody, and on Threads. So anyway, updating the show, kind of refreshing, moving forward, and I roll it out, new format, we're coming out every Friday, and Jesse's not there. So
I'm sorry. I was traveling.
Thanks a lot.
But I know. I wasn't aware of,
Thanks a lot for having a life and doing other interesting things.
How dare you? During Women's History Month.
I was traveling quite a bit, but nonetheless, yeah, exactly. How dare I? I should have been sitting at home in quiet observation.
Yeah.
Of the recognition and watching Legally Blonde on a loop.
Watching Legally Blonde with scented candles.
As we all should. That sounds like a delightful evening.
That's how we celebrate. Yeah.
Thank you.
But I had a couple flights, and that one was very early in the morning and one was very, very late at night. And so there were a lot of tired people on board. And I was on the early flight, I was like on my laptop trying to work the whole time. On the late one, I was watching a movie. But either way, I was trying to occupy myself on both flights. Okay. And this is where I ran into a dilemma. On one, it was in the guy, so not the row next to me, but the row next to me, one behind. So still pretty close. He was snoring so loud. I'm talking like I was concerned about respiratory issues. Okay. I mean, distracting. If you have a baby on a plane.
Wait, did you have noise canceling headphones on and everything?
I had regular headphones on.
Oh, okay. Well, that's your first problem. But
yeah, that's mistake
okay,
number
but
one,
even
brother.
him being
Wouldn't
a
have mattered.
row and a seat behind, and you can still hear it. Like airplanes are not quiet.
I'm telling you, it was the whole plane could hear it. It's a big echo tube. It's a tube for this guy's snores. I didn't know what to do. Like in that scenario, because it was driving me crazy. I mean, it was so loud. What would you guys do in that?
Was he directly
position?
behind you? Can you like drop the seat back and kind of jolt him awake?
He was one row over, but the problem is he was on the window seat, right? So at one point I got up and I thought maybe if I trip and hit the row, it'll jostle him. So I do that. But it's a nice new a plane and me
No jostling. Yeah.
Those seats are not jostleable.
Did you ask
seem
this
like
flight attendant? Is there anything we can do about this?
Yeah, she said no. She said no. She didn't want to wake him. It was put matters in my own hands. And
did you happen to have a long stick or a broom handle nearby?
Usually I carry a long poking stick when I travel.
Yeah. I know that. That's why I asked. Did you bring it?
Or sometimes just a wire.
That's a fight waiting to happen.
Or sometimes just a wire coat hanger. I just thanks a lot, FAA.
Was anyone else concerned with this guy snoring, or were you the only one who seemed
they
to
There was a
sleeping
lot
through
of
it.
eye contact. There were a lot of eye contact. Like, what are we gonna do about this guy?
This reminds me of the video that went viral the other day of the airplane where everybody's just like gagging and covering their faces. And then you hear in the distance an Indian guy yell, "Whoever's farting, please stop. It smells so bad." You know what I mean? Like the whole plane was like coughing.
But that brings me to my point. Considering there's so many rules.
That's ridiculous. By the way, I've never seen that.
Dude, I'll send it to you.
It's bad.
It's like somebody gets a phone out and like the entire row is like this, like they're covering up their noses. And then literally you hear a voice like 4 or 5 rows away. "Whoever's farting, please stop. It smells so bad." And it goes off.
But the thing is,
Plot twist, it was him that was farting.
it's really the perfect
He who
crime.
smelt it dealt it. Yeah, that's what you yell back.
It's really the perfect crime because all the person that is farting has to do is like put their nose
Act like they're bothered too.
That's it, bro.
Yeah.
It is, it's perfect. But either way, it was a big. There's a lot. I just seem like there's some unsettled dilemmas on air travel these days when it comes to.
I think there are bigger problems these days than just people snoring on flights. I will say,
like keeping a plane
problem.
in the air is really been a challenge.
Yeah, we'll get to snoring, Jesse.
Right side up, you know, like
Yeah.
keeping
Farts
the
We'll
I'm
get to
okay
the.
right now. I'm okay with farts and snoring if the
If the plane
plane is
lands.
actually flying.
I gotta be
Yeah.
honest, they're not helping the situation. I feel like you're just riling everybody up, so I could have a lot of tension on there. Who knows? I feel like you just want everyone, including the pilots, to be relaxed.
It's
gotta
true.
have-
It's distracting the pilots. They're up there bothered and annoyed. Yeah.
You tell me what you feel less distracted on. A quiet, relaxed flight where everyone's just enjoying themselves, or a farty snore tube.
Snore flight. Farty snore flight is crazy.
You tell me which one you feel.
This
that
reminds
the
me.
pilot's more equipped to operate.
I have a friend who's in town this weekend or this week, and she flew in last night. And I was asking her about the flight, and she was like, "Oh, it was great. I had the whole entire row to myself." And I was like, "Oh, so it wasn't a full flight?" And she said, "Well, no, I chose to be on the exit row, and no one else volunteered to be on the exit row. So she's the only
Southwest.
one." Spirit.
Why would
Oh,
anybody
Spirit?
not volunteer to be on the exit row?
Well, because
Spirit,
if something happens
may
with the
be
flight, like the
activated.
people on the exit row have to be the ones who are kind of helping the flight
Wait, so
attendants.
people thought, I'm on a Spirit flight. It is very likely they're going to put me to
Yes.
work. And so I don't want to. Okay, got it.
So she was the only one. There are two. She said there were 12 seats that are designated for exit row. She was the only person on the entire flight who agreed to be on the exit row. And I was like,
this thing may not make it, y'all.
and she had she was just excited about the extra leg room. And I was like, you actually might not have
as
made
a normal human would.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Jesse, if you've ever been on a Spirit flight,
Soul plane, bro. That's the Spirit flight is a soul plane.
slash snakes
Snoop
on a
Dogg is the
plane.
flyer. Yeah, it's all of those. Snakes on a plane, soul
Listen,
plane, all of them. Con Air, it's all of those. all in one.
Con Air.
It's all of those, all in one.
I think they should just do like a subway style or like trolley style where it's just standing. You just grab the little pole and you're just, all right, guys, everyone hold on.
That's basically
That'll
what a
keep
Spirit
everyone
flight
in line.
is.
Dude,
Yeah,
have
exactly.
you seen, like, they've been talking, like every year the industry has, like, you know, a convention where, like, everybody gathers and here's innovations and all this kind of stuff in air travel. And, like, this last year they proposed a double-decker seating arrangement where you, like, there's so little leg room that they literally are stacking the chairs kind of, like, up, and like you almost are standing like for the whole flight. And basically they're trying to make another class in the back of the plane of like basically standing room only seats. And so you have luxury, regular, and then cheap in the back.
During Women's History Month.
That's why these planes keep falling out the sky, because they keep doing this bull.
Maybe
I know,
I'm just cheap. But if you were to tell me, hey, some guy wants to give you $400 and you have to go just stand still for 2 hours. Okay. I'd probably say, all right, I would do that for $400. I would just go stand somewhere.
Not me.
Easiest 400 I've ever. You wouldn't stand.
No.
Just stand for $400 for 2
absolutely not.
hours.
No, not on a 6 a.m. flight to LA.
No.
And I got to be ready to get to work when I get there. No, sir.
Yeah.
Cameron, I've stood with you at a music festival for like 12 hours before.
I was entertained. I wasn't stuck in a tube.
I mean, you're not just staring at the wall. You could have something playing or listen.
I
to
can't work on my
stare at the wall.
laptop. I can't.
I would stare at the
my
wall. If
gosh.
someone said, I want you to go stand against the
Women's
wall
History
for
Month.
2 hours.
Thank you, Derek.
What? Let me ask you. So you're telling me this, guys. Someone walks up to you now.
She
Again,
wins
we don't need to
every
figure out-
argument. She wins every argument. Every
I
disagreement. If we have two different ideas of when to post the IG post, hey, what about 4 o'clock? No, what about 7 o'clock? And I'll say, no, I think we should do 7. She goes, during Women's History Month, you're really going to mansplain to me why 7 is better than 4? And I was like, no,
Well,
this
let's
is
talk-
That's why we're posting at 4 o'clock.
This why Donald Trump won. Y'all might not put this in there, but
No,
this is exactly why he won.
Emily, I'm gonna give you deference on this one because what is the price? 2 hours standing against the wall, staring at it. Derek and Cameron are it's north of 400 for them.
Yeah.
My price might be as low as like a good meal. All you have to do is stand against the wall for 2
Yeah, see,
hours.
I'm going to need you to respect yourself a little more. I do think 400 is starting. Like a Spirit should start at 400 and then it can go up from there.
You know how like when they overbook a flight and they're trying to get people to take the vouchers to like go on the next flight, and they're like, "Hey, we'll just give you a $200 voucher and nobody takes it. We'll give
Someone
you
got $2,000 on a flight one time. I was so mad.
I'm saying it starts a bidding war. There is a moment where it gets to the point where like, you know what, that's worth it because that's like 4 flights. You know what I mean? So like there is a number. I don't know what the number is for me, but there is a number, but it's going to have to be well worth my while.
Take flying out of it right now. Okay. This is there's just some weird rich person that just likes to test the limits of human discomfort.
David Blaine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the show Survivor.
And he approaches each of us and he says, you know, I'm doing a social experiment. This data will eventually go to the airline industry. I want you to stand face against the wall for 2 hours without going anywhere.
That's
you
torture.
Just gotta stand there. What is the price it would take you?
I mean, that's literal torture. I mean,
For
that's
2
solitary
hours?
confinement.
Okay.
It's not like I didn't say 2 weeks.
Not torture, but I have
What is
so
your price,
much more
Derek?
to do with my life
Thank you.
than stare at a wall. I'm just not going to do it.
I'll be
I
honest.
do it right
what I'm
now.
hearing from Derek and Cameron is that
out.
you guys are afraid to be alone with your thoughts for 2 hours. Whereas
No,
I
that's
think
not what you're hearing.
No,
Jesse
I'm
and I
thinking-
would have a thrilling time making
I'd
up
be very
stories.
meditative. I wish
Yeah.
someone would pay me to stand up
That's
against the
not
wall
what
for
you're
2
hearing.
hours. and not
All
have
I'm
to do
saying
anything.
is, I'm not going to pay to be on a flight and stand up.
No.
Maybe it's just because I'm old or whatever.
Yeah. I've worked too hard in life for that to be.
Oh, right.
What's
Old,
going on?
bougie,
Yeah.
and got some money.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. But there ain't I don't see a scenario that I'm going to stand up on a plane.
$10,000.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
There we go.
Sure.
I said there's
we
a
go.
number.
But see now we're adding value to the bank account now.
Okay,
$400 ain't.
Sure.
I'm cool with 10 racks.
Right.
we
Now I'm
cool.
working. I just worked for 10 grand. You know what I mean?
That's a job. We just took a quick little situation.
Understand.
This rich white man wanted to give me because you don't want no black dude gonna ask that question. It had to be a rich white guy. Rich white man asked me, was I gonna stand up against the wall for 2 hours? Yeah, I'll take your white boy. I'll take white people money for sure.
Yeah. 10 grand.
There we
Yeah.
go.
There's a number. All right. We can ask Jenn Johnson that when she comes on later.
Mr. Beast, 10 bands from Mr. Beast to stand up against the wall is mine.
Yeah.
This weird person very curious about physical discomfort. I would be like, sweet, I don't have to do anything for 2 hours. I just have to stand here. That seems like a nice break for me. Let's do it right now.
Oh, that's true. Because you got a busy life, a busy household. You're always go,
standing
go,
there
go.
like this?
You're craving solitude and quiet. Not me. I work alone from home. I'm like, I ain't craving solitude and quiet. So, yeah.
Jesse just did a Zen pose when you said solitude and quiet.
No,
He said,
I'm just thinking about this.
"Woosah."
I'll pay $400 to be able to get 2 hours back.
All right. Well, coming up later, we have Jenn Johnson. She's the new worship album coming out. At the end of the show, right now, it's March Madness. You're full on March Madness. So we have Mascot Madness coming up. It's literally, here's what it is, guys. It's the 64 teams in March Madness, and we're going to do the bracket all the way to the winner, but it's not the teams. It's simply the mascots. If the mascots were competing against each other, who would win? So we're going to name the all-time winning mascot.
Isn't this how Emily picks her bracket?
No,
Did you do this game, Emily?
I did do this. I already picked my bracket though. I don't do it on mascots. I literally look at the team name and just kind of feel in my heart, do I think they could
She
win?
goes out by.
So
And
So
she
I got
does pretty well
I've got
every
quite
year.
a few Cinderella teams on there because I have a lot of high hopes for them, but it'll be
I
good.
love it. I love it.
She was very excited to tell me one evening that she
Yeah.
ended up picking the same champion that I did. And I was like, I don't know if this is a good omen or a bad omen, but you know.
Hey, I
And
normally
you
do
did
pretty
all
good.
that work.
Yeah, what's funny is like when you fill it out, it asks like, do you want to do like an auto bracket based on like all these analysis and stuff? And I say, nope, manual every time so that I can go through it and pick based on my heart.
Well, so you'll do well at the game coming up later. And also after this break, we have Relevant Buzz. Every day without knowing Jesus. If you could reach him faster, would you? If you could build reproducing churches right now, would you? If there were people with the language and cultural understanding to share the gospel, would you support them? If there were a way to reach the unreached that was guaranteed to work, would you make the investment? Right now, local national believers are already making disciples, but they lack the resources to plant more churches and train more church planners. This is a new wave of missions. This is how we reach the unreached as quickly and efficiently as possible, there and now. Find out more and get involved at thereandnow.org. Okay, it's time for
Relevant Buzz.
Tell us what's happening at the intersection of faith and culture this week, Emily.
Okay, the first thing I want to talk about is honestly a really cool moment that happened at the University of Colorado last week. Coach Deion Sanders invited Denzel Washington to speak to the football team during one of their spring practices.
That's crazy work.
It is crazy. And obviously it was inspirational. I mean, this is the guy that was, part of the Remember the Titans. But he spoke for nearly an hour and a half, and it was all over Zoom. You can actually watch the full thing on our site. But I really wanted to play a clip of it so that you guys can hear it for yourselves and just get some inspiration for the weekend.
Pray for rain. You got to deal with the mud, too. But eventually, good things grow out of that mud. All fame ain't all it's made up to be. Power and privilege and fame and wealth, hopefully you'll see. But it's not all, it's all made up to be. So, yeah, you can pray that it rains on you, but you got to deal with the mud. You be looking up and look down and realize you're 7 feet deep in mud. It's thick. People don't like it. People don't like seeing you do well. We are in the world, but don't be of it. Don't rely on it for your happiness. Rely on the Almighty. Do not rely on this world for your happiness, because it'll tell you Tuesday that they love you and Wednesday that they hate you. They probably said that about your team. It's not consistent.
That's old Unc wisdom right there. Just the way he was talking, he sounded like old Unc, and it just hits you right in the soul. That's that old Unc wisdom. I love it.
You pray for fame and wealth and power, like it hits you like rain, but you don't think about. Then you got to deal with the mud. You're 7 feet in the mud. Is it be careful what you ask, wish for, what you pray for?
No, it's a full sermon. Yeah,
it's a full sermon.
Yeah, man.
I love what Prime's bringing to college football. I do. I think he's awesome.
Not everybody does, Emily.
I was going to say, a lot of, obviously, Christians are thrilled about this. Some people are not happy about this, though. And I'm specifically talking about the Freedom from Religion Foundation, which is a nonprofit that advocates for the separation of church and state. They have actually issued a formal warning to the university, claiming that Deion Sanders is violating constitutional law by incorporating religious practices into the teams by, through things like team prayer or having chaplains on the team. And that, this is a public university. You can't do that.
Well, chaplains are common in locker rooms. Yeah. Prayer is common before a game, but Coach Prime is bringing in pastors to speak to the team and like taking it to another level, which obviously we love. But he's put a target on his back from these anti-church and state, or separation of church and state organizations. So they're threatening a lawsuit right now. So that's not good. But.
Yes.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there are important distinctions between, what you want the state to be, how they can mandate religious stuff. But I think there's a little bit of nuance here, right? I don't think he's forcing people to. You can have people of different religious persuasions come in and talk to you. It's not like he's forcing them to convert, as far as I know.
Correct.
But
correct.
If he was saying, "Listen, you're going to lose your starting position." If you don't come to this pastor thing or whatever, that's different. But if he's a Christian and he's inspired by Christians, just like if he was a Buddhist or an atheist coach and and felt like Buddhism gave him an edge or yoga gave him an edge in being a performer and brought in a bunch of yogis or Buddhists, no one would be upset. And long as it doesn't affect him, your position on the team. Now we're just nitpicking and just don't.
And to be honest, these student athletes knew what they were signing up for when they came to his program. He's very open about the content that you're going to be presented. You know what I mean? So it's not like nobody's blindsided. And like you said, he's not holding it over their head. Like if you don't conform to XYZ, you're out or anything. He's not doing any of that. I think this is meritless but it is interesting because when Auburn, we posted about Auburn a month or two ago, the number one team in the country at the time. And like everybody's Christian and they took a trip to Israel and they got baptized in the Jordan River. And like, it's so Jesus focused. The team is doing Bible studies together and all this stuff and praying together during the games. I said to Emily, I'm surprised that they're so open with it because Auburn is a state school. And I know it's the Bible Belt, but still that surprises me that they're not catching flack for being so open. And there's a lot of programs like that. I mean, Clemson, the football team, Clemson. I mean, there's just a lot of Christian coaches that impose a lot of faith elements to their program. Coach Prime is no different than that. It is interesting to see, though, that there's some people kind of threatening legal action and stuff. So, well, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
It's also the difference between, you brought up Clemson and you brought up, who's the other team? Auburn. Mm-hmm. They're both in the South. Colorado's in the West.
Right.
So it's a different, much different culture. Like in the South, like Christianity is not really
it's cultural.
It does, and it doesn't evoke a level of like vitriol from people. But out on the West, it's a lot different.
Agreed.
So that's probably the reason why.
Moving on, the next thing I want to talk about is something happening in the workplace in South Korea, on the other side of the world. Employees in the Gyeonggi province have been invited to test out a 4-day work week every other week, or just sort of reduce work hours overall. Now, other places have done this, so you're probably like, why am I bringing this up? That is because officials are specifically testing this out to not just help out with burnout that a lot of people have said they're experiencing, but they're actually hoping this helps fix one of the country's biggest problems, which is their plummeting birth rate. So a little context, South Korea has the lowest fertility rate in the world at just 0.72 children per woman. So they are not keeping up with standard population rates.
And isn't it that the average work week there is also 67 hours a week? Is that right?
Yes, a few years ago.
Oh, yeah, they ain't got no time. They ain't got no time to get to it.
That's what I'm saying. And so the government is saying, we have a problem. We need to do a 4-day work week to strengthen families and have people go on dates and make more babies. That's literally what the government is saying.
Or have time to raise your kid or find childcare. Or whatever,
a lot of women in South Korea especially have said that they feel like they have to choose between having a career or having a family because there's just no way that they could do both. And so I'm with you, to your point, Jesse, the government sees that and is trying to do what they can to remedy it by adjusting work hours.
Get these folks a break.
Work less, make more babies. There you go.
Don't sound like a win to me. Lord, I've seen what you've done for others. We need to start bringing that back over here. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? You bring up a good point, Derek. Cameron, let's actually talk later about some stuff.
Well, hold on. Hold on, Emily. Are you saying publicly that if you have one less workday every other week,
I might get a boyfriend?
Go have babies? Oh, okay.
No, I think I could just finally meet a man. I think that's what we're trying to get.
So it's a work schedule issue. Got it.
Yeah, okay. That's why I'm single, is my work schedule.
Got it. Because men are wanting to date on like Thursdays at 1.
Yes.
Right?
And I'm like, guys, I have a career. It's just so difficult.
Got it. I didn't know. I'm not on the apps. I didn't know.
The more you know. That's what you learned during Women's History Month. Okay. Moving on. The very last thing I want to mention.
This is my favorite episode so far this year.
I'm having a great time. Moving on to the very last thing I want to mention is you guys may have seen a lot of Jesus on television this week. And what I mean by that is you might have seen specifically the Chosen star, Jonathan Roumie, who plays Jesus. He's been doing a lot of press to gear up for season 5, which drops next week. So he was on talk shows like The View, Sherry Shepherd, just talking about, the Chosen, his faith. All great things. Very happy that.
Well, on The View, in particular, he really opened up at how playing this role led. I mean, we know the story, but he found faith through this role, and he was he laid out the gospel on The View.
Yeah. So he's been doing some really great things on these talk shows, but there's one moment that I really want us to talk about, and that was when he went on the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. He did obviously talk about the show, his faith. Again, thrilled about that. But he actually talks about a little known part of his acting past, which is that he used to do voice impressions on MTV's Celebrity Deathmatch.
awesome.
Oh,
You were the voice on MTV's Celebrity Deathmatch.
Yes. There was
I love that show. I used to watch that all the time.
Yeah, for those who don't know, it was clay animated celebrities fight each other to the death in the most ridiculous ways. And they needed people to sound like the celebrities. And so I wrote a letter to the casting director and said, hey, I do impressions. Could I audition? And she called me up and said, call this hotline and leave 60 seconds of your best impression. And at the time, I was going through a massive Marlon Brando phase. So I probably called her up and said, this is Marlon Brando. I don't know if you need anybody for your show or anything like that. I don't know. Maybe I could give it a shot. You tell me.
So yeah, who else did he do? He did Marlon Brando.
Ray Romano is a guy that I did a lot. Love that guy. Long Islander myself as well. You know. So
wow.
And then I started playing around with I'm a huge fan of the musical impressions you do. First of all, let me just bow down to the great here. Everybody.
No.
Your impressions.
Oh, no luck.
Jimmy's impressions are amazing. And so I started working on a little Bob Dylan. Oh, yes. Here we go.
Oh, my God.
Itsy bitsy spider crawled up the water spout.
Oh, my God.
Down
That's
came the
crazy.
rain and washed the spider out.
Thank you.
Well, out came the sun, dried up all the rain.
Uh-huh.
Well, that itsy bitsy spider crawled right up back again. Oh. And I'm telling you, man, that spider won in the end. Yes, these rhymes.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Bob. Take it to the next.
that was really impressive. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna zag here. I'm glad the Jesus thing worked out for him because his bag is dated. I think our parents would be impressed with those, but that is Marlon Brando.
I love a good
Bob
impression
Dylan.
though, man. Jay Farrow. Oh my goodness, Jay Farrow.
Nobody
is
better.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
It's good. No, but I was really surprised to see this because all I know him from is, Jesus from The Chosen. But I actually started looking into more of his acting past because I was curious, what he did, what other things he'd done. But he actually shared on his Instagram that he started out as an intern at SNL during Will Ferrell's first season.
What?
Yeah, he was.
That's crazy.
And he worked at SNL for I think it was only one season, but he has shared a few stories about that, which I think is really crazy to think about his trajectory from SNL to Jesus.
Man, hey, that's a crazy trajectory.
Yeah.
I just think it's so funny that like I saw a lot of platforms and Christian accounts like resharing him with these heartfelt stories about faith on The View and other things and relevant posts. He was on Celebrity Deathmatch. Of course, that's the one
And
that we posted.
And he can still do impressions of celebrities that were relevant in the late 90s.
Ray Romano.
I was going to say the Ray Romano.
Sorry. You liked it?
No. I was just going to say I couldn't remember I honestly couldn't tell you if it was a good one or not because I haven't thought about Ray Romano in about 20 years. So
During Women's History Month, you would say that. Unbelievable.
Proudly, I would say that I have not thought about Ray Romano in 20 years during Women's History Month.
Ray Romano, man, that holds up. It holds up. It doesn't hold up as well as King of Queens. That holds up better. But
I do love King of
Everybody
Queens.
Loves Raymond is
really
good.
does hold up.
It's on Peacock. All right. Well, that'll do it for Relevant Buzz. Make sure to check out relevantmagazine.com every day where we have a lot more of that. Thanks, Emily.
You're so welcome.
All right. Stay tuned. Up next, Jenn Johnson joins us. This episode of the Relevant Podcast is brought to you by the Every Woman's Prayer Journal from Tyndale House Publishers. Living a life of extraordinary purpose starts with extraordinary prayer. The Every Woman's Prayer Journal is designed to add depth and intentionality to your prayer and Bible study, guiding you through scripture-inspired journaling sessions of praise, confession, thanksgiving, and requests. With 100 prayer sessions rooted in God's Word, it's the perfect companion to the Every Woman's Bible. Order your copy of the Every Woman's Prayer Journal today. It releases March 18th, and right now, you can save 25% by ordering your copy at Tyndale.com. Well, today's podcast is brought to you by 10 by 10. Mentoring the next generation matters, but it can feel overwhelming. That's why 10 by 10 created Next Gen Simple Mentoring, a free turnkey resource for adults who care about young people's faith. It helps you build on relationships you already have. Teens need mentors, mentors need training, and you need next-gen Simple Mentoring. Get your free toolkit at simplementoring.org today. It's good for young people, good for adults, and good for communities. Well, today we're joined by Jenn Johnson. She's a worship leader, you know her, and the president of Bethel Music. She works closely with the Bethel team on all their projects, but as she tells us, she's been focused on more than just Bethel's music lately. She's also been rethinking what worship looks like in all areas of our lives and how rest and obedience are just as important to our daily walks. Jenn talks to Emily about all that she's been learning, and she also teases some exciting projects she's working on in the future. Here's our conversation with Jenn Johnson.
Well, it's really great to be catching up with you, Jenn, because there's a lot of exciting things happening at Bethel right now. I think the best place to start is what is in the plans for Bethel in 2025?
We just actually finished the recording 2 weeks ago. I don't know. I'm bad with time. February 14th. It was on Valentine's Day. We finished the recording for the McClures, Paul and Hannah McClure, their new album. And it is so beautiful from start to finish. I hope we also put the event out, the live recording we did in long form, because the night was just beautiful. Their daughter is dancing on stage with them. She's like 8 years old. I mean, it was beautiful. So I'm really excited about this project that they're going to be releasing this year. For the first time ever, I'm actually doing a solo album. So I'm very excited, and in all the way, I'm in deep in this album. So very excited. There's going to be a lot of beauty, a lot of color, a lot of flowers, and just different songs that I've written throughout my life that I'm collecting into this life album, as I'm calling it, because it has a love song to my husband on it. It has a love song to my kids on it. It has a song about a challenging time in my life where I was just really frustrated at God and didn't understand. So there's a lot of different songs. And then, of course, it's me, so you got to have the corporate worship songs as well in there. But I'm very excited about this mosaic of an album that I'm working on. We just had a song released last Friday from our new artist named Edward Rivera, and it's a very fun little pop song, so called Not the End. So make sure you check that out. It's really beautiful. And there's just so much. I think every single artist on our label right now is working on something that is going to release this year. So it's going to be another full year of good stuff coming down. So can't wait.
Why did you decide that this was the year to release your solo album?
You know, I've had things in my life, like writing a book and doing my own album, that I'd love to do a podcast one day as well. I've kind of got a few things that I would love to do, and I just kind of wait for God to give me the green light on things. And so it's just felt like that with this, that now is the time for this album. And so I am like, all right. So I haven't given it my everything, because we've got so much stuff going on, but I've made it to be a priority where I'm working towards it. And it's been a really fun journey with God. So I just felt like the Lord just said, all right, go girl, it's time to do this one. So I just try to do whatever he highlights as my green light. And so the album happens to be it. So it's going to be fun.
And I know just a few weeks ago, Bethel released their latest album, We Must Respond. What was the message you were wanting the church to hear with that project?
This album was a funny one, especially with the title being We Must Respond. You know, it's not a song title or even a lyric in any of the songs. It's just a phrase that our community really just caught onto. And it was something from my father-in-law, Bill, had said. But for all God's done with us and for us and through us, and from the beginning of creation, the cross, how could we not respond? There's a verse in the Bible that said they sang responsively to the Lord. And I think that's our daily invitation as believers, is to take time before God every day, obviously in his word, but just thanking him for who he is, all that he's done, what he's about to do, and just making sure that that is a part of our daily offering to the Lord. I'm reading Numbers and Leviticus right now, and there's just so much. Obviously, we don't thankfully have to kill a lot of animals on altars anymore because, but I'm I'm just really just diving into the intentionality of offering and the intentionality of giving thanks to God and glory to God and offering to God every single day and not letting a day go by where you don't. So I think that's a big theme of the album. And then, we encourage every listener of this new album, We Must Respond, to take the entire journey. Start at the first song, take an hour and sit down and just listen to the entire album as a complete body of work, especially the first time you listen to it, to really just hear the actual full message of what we feel like the Lord is saying. Because each of these songs, all the lyrics really do tell a story of what we feel God is saying. So.
If I can I pick your brain about what you're learning about offering? Because that is just something I don't think we're talking about enough.
Yeah, I think that we live in obviously a different day, and we live on the other side of the work of the cross and Jesus paying for our atonement, that we get to live in the power of the blood. We get to live in the freedom of that. But I think that we have to be careful to not miss the intentionality in what actually the Lord is requiring and what he wants. If you study the 7 words for praise in the Bible, they're actually action words: to bow, to kneel, to kiss, to dance wildly. And so God is really specific about what he likes and what he doesn't like. And so I think that we need to be attuned to what that is. And even though we're not having to make these sacrifices of animals anymore, there is a sacrifice daily still required from us. So I'm leaning into that. Even something for me personally, our whole team here at Bethel Music, even this morning, just really communicating to our team the need for a Sabbath and what does that look like? We live in a world where we work from home a lot now, or we're doing kind of things constantly, especially if you're in the ministry, it feels pretty constant. And so I've just been encouraging our team, hey, we need to make sure that we actually protect one day a week. Obviously, sometimes for us, that can't be on a Sunday because we're all working Sundays at our churches and ministry. So that's got to be different. But I just championed our team today that we need to really make sure that we have one day a week, and maybe it's different for all of us and it can't be the same day because of what we've all got going on, but that we would protect it and make it holy. I circled in my Bible this morning quite a few times in one chapter, and they did no work, and they did no work, and they did no work. And so I think in our fast-paced culture of constant, and especially if we do anything in the events or ministry space, the pressure can be to just be on always. But I think the Lord's pretty clear that we need a sacred day to be off. And so I'm just championing our team that we've got to really work to protect each other, and also to make sure that the Sabbath goes on our schedule and that we work to keep it holy and do no work.
For all the Bible talks about it, Christians do seem to really struggle with rest. Why do you think that is?
I just think that it probably was difficult for everybody since the beginning of time to have, because there's always something that needs to be done. But I think that even just planning ahead, reading through, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, like they would prepare enough food the day before for the next day so that they couldn't. So they were intentional about setting that time apart. And even my husband and I were talking last night, practically, how do we do this better? And he's like, well, I'm going to text all my business partners and tell them that on Saturdays, unless it's an emergency, and it better be that I need that day off, and we're working with people around the world in international time zones. And so it really is difficult. There really is a challenge to what we do and actually having that day. But I think at the end of the day, we just need to kind of make extra measures to protect that. Because you know what? I think the enemy's sneaky little quiet way of getting us all to sin is that we would burn out and that we would overdo it. And so if he can't get you in intentional sin, he might be able to really open the door of burnout in your life because you're overdoing it. And so I think we just need to be cautious on both sides of that track. Do you have any advice for younger Christians who are stepping into adulthood and leadership roles? Yeah, I think that, in a digital age where we all have our phones and we're connected always, that we need to be careful, and we really need to take seriously in this past, 10 years of technology becoming a part of our every moment, that we really need to be careful that we have time off, again, from even that, and that we're disconnected, because we weren't meant to live with things coming at us, even positive, but it just, you open up Instagram and it's just constant highs and lows, and even inspiration, just being inundated with things, or emotionally, it's a lot. We weren't meant to carry the weight of the world in our minds every single day. And so I think really practically for this generation is sit down with who you're following on social media with the Lord and ask him to give you a yes or a no, a peace or a that you are to unfollow or follow who you're following. It's very important that we are mindful about who we're following. So, I think that that's a big one. There was a season in my life a few years ago where I unfollowed every single person. I think I followed 2,000 people at that point, and that I dearly loved and cared about, but I didn't have the capacity to be a part of that for, every human's life. And so I think sit down with the Lord and bring him into that process. And if you have a check, like a caution in your heart about following someone, even if you love them, even if you don't realize why that you wouldn't be good that you followed them, just unfollow them. Nothing is worth your peace. And so I think that's a big one. I am a very big champion for health in all aspects, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. I have a book called All Things Lovely, and it's a journey about holistic health and how our spirituality and physical and mental, all three are connected, and we can't separate them. And so I think physical health is really important. What foods we're putting into our body. Are you getting exercise? Are you getting sunlight? Are you getting the vitamins? Are you testing your hormones? Knowing what's going on in your body, and also regulating all of the technology and modern day things. But I think that those things connected. Are you getting counseling from a spirit-filled Christian? We don't want to get our counseling from a source that has no God in it, simple things like that. So assessing your life and your health constantly. How can I be healthier? What do I need to do? And keeping that open, because we want to run the good race and we want to do this well in the long haul. And to do that, we have to be mindful. Not just are we reading our Bible, are we going to church, are we being good Christians, but also are we taking care of ourselves physically and emotionally as well.
You have led me through the fire in my darkest night. You were close like no other.
That was Jenn Johnson. All right, stay tuned. Up next, it's Mascot Madness.
As a friend, oh, I have lived in the goodness of God.
Looking to take your Bible study to the next level? Check out Life Bible, the app packed with devotionals, in-depth commentaries, and guided reading plans to help you stay on track. Quickly find notes on specific verses and explore scripture like never before. For a limited time, Relevant Podcast listeners get a free month of the Life Application Study Bible, featuring verse-by-verse insights, character studies, and practical applications, all conveniently located inside the app. Download Life Bible today at tbibles.com/relevantpodcast and start your free month. Again, that's download the Life Bible app today at tbibles.com/relevantpodcast and start your free month. Okay, it's time for...
It's the Mascot Madness Bracket Challenge.
The Mascot Madness Bracket Challenge. We are going to go from 64 to a winner, specifically pitting the actual team mascots against each other. I'm not going to say the name of the team. I'm just going to say the name of the mascots. Now, granted, here's the caveat. There are a number of mascots that are shared by multiple teams. So when that's the case, I'll tell you which state that mascot resides in, because I feel like
that'll settle
a tiger from Alabama is going to be wired a little different than a tiger from like Oregon. You know what I'm saying? Okay, here we go. So first round, we have the Tigers from Alabama versus Hornets. Who wins?
Oh, this is Hornets, not close.
Hornets?
Yeah,
Serious? But they got to go through the fur and stuff.
You know what, though? I do feel like them being tiny.
Are they battling each other, like
Yeah.
actually fighting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. This is a battle. Who emerges from this battle?
You put a bunch of Hornets in a room.
Who
with a
said
tiger.
it's multiple
And when-
Hornets?
How many?
Is it multiple Tigers?
It has an S on it.
So does
It has an
Tigers.
S on it.
I
Tigers
think
does
the number
too.
of tigers is
Oh.
if you put a whole bunch of Hornets in a room with a whole bunch of tigers,
Yeah.
you open the door like 2 days later,
Yeah.
those tigers are going to be in bad shape.
Yeah, they're done.
Wow.
That is a fact.
I'm going to go Hornets, yeah.
I mean, a swarm of Hornets. It depends on how many. This is the age-old question. Like, it's like, would you rather fight,
10 Hornets or
giant,
100.
Yeah, 10 Hornets, yeah.
But I think we need to clarify here. This is a 5-on-5 matchup. We're not talking 50,000 Hornets versus 5 Tigers. We're talking 5-on-5.
When's the last time one of you guys get stung by a hornet? Because I did last summer, and I will tell you, one hornet sting is bad enough. 5, you're hurting.
Yeah.
Like,
Do Hornets die after?
No, that's bees.
That's
yeah.
bees.
Hornets
So
can
they
hit
can
bombs.
sting you as much as they want to.
Oh,
Pretty
then
much.
it's Hornets for sure.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm with you. You talked me into it. All right. Cardinals versus Blue Jays.
I think it's
Cardinal.
Birds.
I think Cardinals are meaner.
Yeah,
Sure.
so do I.
I like red.
don't think-
Sure.
Wolverines versus Tritons.
Wolverines.
like the weapon.
Wait, what's a Triton? Is a Triton?
No, a Triton
the
is a
spear?
son of. No, a Triton is the son of Poseidon, so it's like a fish creature, fish man creature.
versus a
Also
Wolverine.
but it's also the weapon it wields, right?
Yeah. It's the
Yes.
little forky thing.
But
So you
in-
could fork it. You could fork the Wolverine.
yeah, no, I would be the
If I'm going to the god of the sea
God of the Sea versus a
versus
Wolverine.
I'm gonna go
I'm
Triton.
taking the god of the sea.
They're gonna go
I think
Tritons,
I don't think it's a
unfortunately.
pleasant thing to fight a Wolverine, but I think the god of the sea can do it.
Got it. Aggies versus Bulldogs. So Aggies are farmers. These are specifically the Aggies from Texas. So Texas farmers, agriculture,
Go
versus
to put the Aggies
Bulldogs
down.
versus Bulldogs from Connecticut.
Ooh, Connecticut though.
You might as well put Texas farmers. You might as well just put them in the championship bracket and see how they do against a bunch of Hornets. To be honest,
So we're going Aggies. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Bulldogs, though. I mean, I'm thinking pit
But-
bulls. So
but from
Bulldogs are different than pit
Connecticut,
bulls.
Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, they're domesticated. Yeah. Rebels versus Tar Heels. Now, a Tar Heel is someone who works in a, quote, lowly trade, Tar Heel, versus a rebel.
I think it's Rebels because they're
As
gonna
much
fight
as
to
I-
the end.
Much as I hate to admit that it would be rebels
I got to be honest with you.
as a black man, but
If you walk into a convenience store and there's a guy in there, he's got asphalt all over him, and he's got one of those yellow vests on and a hard hat.
Yeah.
At the end of a day, someone who would have tar on their heel, I ain't messing with that guy. He's going
True
in
that.
there, buying Prime, bunch of lottery tickets and some Zen. You stay away from that. I'm going Tar Heel.
Okay, Tar Heel.
all right. So, what rebels are we talking about?
Well, I think
That's the
it's the ones
question.
with the Confederate flags. I think it's
'Cause are we-
those kind.
Well, hey, F them. Tar Heels for me too.
Just on the principle of it.
off the muscle. sorry, Southerners, but just as a black man, I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Cyclones
valid.
versus bisons. So these cyclones are obviously like tornadoes. So
Yeah,
versus
cyclones for sure.
Bisons.
Cyclone.
Cyclones. Yeah, like it'll pick them up and throw them around. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Golden Eagles versus a Lobos, which is a gray wolf.
So, golden eagles are like 6 foot wide wingspan.
Huge. Yeah, they're huge.
Right? Yeah.
Versus a gray wolf.
I think I'm gonna go with the Eagles, and the main reason why is because they can swoop down. They have a bunch of different ways to be able to.
We're
attack.
on the gray wolf territory. Or the golden eagle territory. I'm going golden eagles.
Yeah.
Agreed. Okay, Spartans versus Bulldogs. So
Spartans.
again, multiple. This is the Spartans from Michigan, Bulldogs
Spartans.
from Rhode Island.
Spartans.
Spartans.
Blue Devils versus Mountaineers. So we have the Dark Arts versus a hillbilly.
Yeah.
Hey, look, the Blue Devils.
Yeah.
I'm going to the hill people, but you guys.
They're crafty, right?
No.
They got incantations too.
A mountaineer is technically someone who is like climbs summits like high peaks. But either way, we'll give you the Blue Devils.
I think the dark arts gonna win that one.
Bulldogs from Mississippi versus Bears.
Bears.
No question.
No content.
Ducks versus Flames.
That's dinner.
That's rotisserie. That's literally rotisserie.
We know how that one ends. Yeah.
Meal. Yeah.
Flames. Okay. Wildcats versus Zips. So these are the Wildcats from Arizona, and a Zip is a kangaroo.
Listen, kangaroos, I've heard they can
they're jacked. I'm taking the kangaroo all day.
Zips. Yeah. All right. I agree. Have you seen Shane Gillis's impression of the, anyway, he tells the story of when he went to Australia and fought a kangaroo.
This is too native for me, bro. I'm all out on that one.
Jesse and I saw, this is no lie, years ago, we told the story a million times, Derek, halftime show at a Magic game in the 2000s. It was Stuff the Magic Dragon in a boxing ring with big comical boxing things, boxing an actual live kangaroo. Like one of those boxing.
Boy got knocked out, didn't he?
We were like, oh, this will be crazy. Jesse, it was the saddest thing. We all felt icky after. It was like, this is animal abuse.
And that kangaroo had lost some muscle mass while locked in that cage all those years.
It was really sad.
Oh, the kangaroo beat the brakes off the mascot.
It was so sad.
The mascot beat the kangaroo.
It was sad. It was like a sad, sickly zoo animal. It was so sad. Anyway,
why would you tell that story during Women's History Month?
Well, it was a male kangaroo. I think you'd want to see it. All right.
Julie.
Cougars versus Rams. These are the Cougars from Utah. So, if you've seen
what kind of Cougars are we
the
talking
Secret
about?
Life of Mormon Wives. Yeah,
women?
They're all blonde. They have a lot of filler. Versus Rams from Virginia.
Rams, no matter what species of cougar we're talking, Rams are a tough big animal.
Yeah,
they got giant.
They're gonna hit them off the edge of the mountain.
Yeah,
for sure. All right, Badgers versus Grizzlies.
What are we doing here?
Grizzlies.
Come on now.
Okay, Crimson Tide versus Colonials. I'm sorry.
The Gales.
Yeah. Gales versus Commodore, and I don't mean a lady named Gail. A whole bunch of people named Gail. I mean a Gaelic person. So what
is a Gaelic
person?
What if
it's a Gaelic naval officer? I think this is a 50-50 shot.
Versus a Commodore, yeah.
Naval officers.
I'm going Commodores because I'm in Tennessee. That's how we get.
Sometimes they have sabers with them.
Mm-hmm. All right, Crimson Tide versus Colonials.
Oh, the Tide is wiping out the Colonial.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gators versus Spartans. These are the Spartans from Virginia.
Shout out Norfolk State. Norfolk State, right down the street. 16 versus 1 seed. Norfolk State, HBC. Just hired Michael Vick as their football coach. Big news around here.
But you know how crazy Spartans are? I like Spartans.
A gator?
Okay, but a gator?
We eat it alive.
Spartans have armor and weapons.
Yeah, exactly.
And gators have teeth.
I've seen.
Oh, so do Spartans. What does that have to do with anything?
I've seen the Florida equivalent of a Tar Heel beat a gator with a broomstick with ease, and like a pillowcase.
Have y'all watched 300?
Yeah, you're right.
I've seen a Tar Heel with a pillowcase easily take out a gator. You're telling me a Spartan?
Honestly, and I mean, I've been to Gatorland, countless times, and they have a gator wrestling exhibition, and you can literally get on the back of a gator and hold its mouth shut, because its strength is clumping down, but it can't open its mouth very strongly. So you could literally hold its mouth shut and just cut its head off. All right, Huskies versus Sooners, which a Sooner is a settler in the Old West.
But them Huskies they're huge, right? They're huge wolves.
You gotta go Husky.
Yeah.
Okay, Husky. All right. Yeah. Tigers from Tennessee or Rams versus Colorado.
Back to the Rams.
Big. Terrapins.
You think a Ram would beat a Tiger for real?
I don't know. I might go Tiger.
Full head of steam. Open field. I guess if you're talking open field or like cage match. Cage match, I'm going Tiger. Open field, I'm going Ram.
I think a tiger could come up on the side of a ram and eat it like an antelope.
I would say the claws.
All right, we'll go tiger.
Terrapins, which is a turtle, versus antelopes.
That's a draw. They both just exhaust
each other. Sleeper here, buddy.
Tigers from Missouri versus bulldogs from Iowa.
Tigers.
Those are those free-range bulldogs, though. All right, Tigers.
Tigers.
All right, Red Raiders versus Seahawks.
Red Raiders have guns. So I'm going to go Red Raiders.
Yeah, they're well armed.
There it is.
Jayhawks versus Razorbacks. That's those mean wild pigs.
The Wild Hog. Yeah, I'm going Razorbacks.
Freaking huge. Yeah.
No question. Those will kill anything.
What's a Jayhawk? I never even seen a Jayhawk.
It's like a
bird.
It's a big bird. It's in Kansas. Red Storm versus Mavericks.
Again, a storm.
What's a Maverick? Is it
a cowboy?
Like the Mel Gibson film. Yeah, I'm going red.
Get electrocuted.
Cougars again, goodness gracious, versus Cougars. So it's Cougars versus Cougars. So this is Texas Cougars versus Illinois Cougars.
I'm going to go Texas Cougars.
Yeah, I think anything coming out of Texas, I give pretty good.
I've seen Texas Cougars, and you ran away from them.
It's a new show on Peacock.
We got another one, Bulldogs versus Bulldogs. Bulldogs from Washington State or Bulldogs from Georgia?
Georgia. They got that grit.
Yeah.
Tigers from South Carolina versus Cowboys.
Tigers.
We all agree?
Yeah, I think I would agree.
Boilermakers versus Panthers.
Panthers.
What's a Boilermaker?
Someone
the guy who works in a steam engine or something.
Yeah, it's a Panther.
Yeah. Fighting Illini, which is just a person from Illinois, versus a musketeer. So a fighting Illinois resident versus a musketeer.
With a sword.
Musketeer.
Yeah, musketeer.
With the musketeer.
I don't know. You been to Southside Chicago? I mean, they can fight, but all right. Wildcats from Kentucky versus Trojans.
I'm going Trojan. I'm looking forward to a Trojan versus Spartan battle. Run back,
Bruins, which is a mythological bear, versus Aggies, the farmers from Utah.
Yeah, it's a B Bruins.
It's the Bruins, for sure.
Bear is going to win 85% of these.
Yeah. Okay, a volunteer versus a terrier.
Volunteer.
Yeah.
Y'all ain't going to disrespect Tennessee like that. What's wrong with y'all?
Round 2. All right, real quick. We'll speed it up. Round 2. Hornets versus Cardinals.
Hornets.
Okay. Tritons versus Aggies. Farmers versus Mythical. Yeah, it's got to be Tritons. Tar Heels versus Cyclones.
Cyclones got it.
Golden Eagles versus Spartans.
Spartan all day.
Blue Devils versus Bears. Ooh.
I think Blue Devil.
Yeah, I gotta go. Yeah, they got
The dark
supernatural
arts.
stuff.
Yeah. Supernatural. Flames versus Zips.
Flames is gonna be. Yeah,
that's a tough one to beat
down the stretch here.
Rams versus Grizzlies.
I think Grizzlies.
Grizzly in that one.
Commodores versus Tide. The Red Tide. Crimson Tide.
Crimson Tide.
Oh yeah, this is gonna come down to a Tide versus Flame thing, I think.
Water,
versus fire. Yeah.
What about the dark arts? Who knows? The Final Four might be interesting. Spartans versus Huskies.
Spartans.
Tigers versus Antelopes. These are the Tigers from Tennessee.
It didn't matter where they were from. It was always the Tigers.
Tigers from Missouri versus the Red Raiders.
Again, I go back to the guns that the Red Raiders have. I'm going to go with Red Raiders.
Yeah.
Razorbacks versus the Red Storm.
You gotta go
Storm.
Red Storm.
Interesting. I didn't expect that one. Texas Cougars versus Georgia Bulldogs.
Texas Cougars of any type all day.
Tigers versus Panthers.
This is tough. I think Tigers.
Tigers.
They're South Carolina Tigers.
Oh, well, there we go.
Tigers.
Musketeers versus Trojans.
Oh, Musketeers by
They
definition.
got guns.
Gun.
Never bring a gun to a knife fight.
Yeah.
Bruins, Mythical Bears versus Volunteers.
Bruins, sorry, Vols.
All right. Okay. Now we are officially in the Sweet 16. Okay. Hold on. There we go. Okay. Hornets versus Tritons.
Triton.
Yeah.
Oh, this is hilarious. Watch this.
Cyclones versus Spartans.
Cyclones.
Sorry, Spartans.
Blue Devils versus Flames.
Well, by
This is
definition,
an interesting one.
the Blue Devils like live amongst the flames. I think
That's
they're
why
very
they going
comfortable
to hell,
with
bro.
flames. I
Throw
love
the
Blue Devil.
flames.
The
in
Flames. Are you saying Flames?
We'll give them flames.
Yeah,
Flames.
All
God
right.
already said it.
All right. Grizzlies versus Crimson Tide.
Crimson Tide.
Tide.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll drown. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spartans versus Tigers.
Tiger.
I mean, that's literally what happened in the Coliseum.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, I think the Tigers
Spartans.
were winning.
Well, the
most of
Spartans
time.
won in the well, actually, no, the Tigers did win. Yeah.
So Tigers?
Yeah.
Did
Some of them won. Some of the Spartans won. Some of the Tigers won. I don't know. I only saw Gladiator
movies
2.
about the few Spartans that won.
I was going to say the Spartans didn't end up losing to the Athenians, so I take the Tigers.
Yeah, Tigers.
Okay.
I got it.
Red Raiders versus Red Storm.
Storm.
Yeah, you can't shoot a storm.
Cougars versus Tigers. Now, I do mean the animal Cougars, not the Utah
Still Tigers.
Okay,
Still Tigers.
Tigers. Musketeers versus Bruins. Mythical Bears.
I'm going to go Bruins.
Guns. I'm going Musketeers and guns.
I know, but this is a mythological bear, so we don't really know if the physical stuff applies.
Mythological bear.
Mythological bear?
Yeah.
We don't know their dark powers.
What is their power? Like, that's
Doesn't
the
matter.
question.
That's what we'll find out.
Doesn't matter.
Now we are picking the final four here. So that was now it's the Elite Eight. Tritons versus Cyclones.
I don't even know how you even win this.
I would say Tritons because I'm pretty sure I've seen them in like a water spout before.
Yeah, they control the cyclone.
That's how they come out of the ocean is a water spout. Yeah.
They're very comfortable in that.
Yeah. Flames versus Crimson Tide. So water
obviously
versus
the Crimson Tide.
Yeah.
Because water puts out flames,
Yes,
right?
yes.
It had to be the Tide.
Tigers versus Red Storm.
Red Storm.
Storm.
Interesting. Tigers versus these are now Tigers
Mythical
from
Bear. All day.
Say Tigers versus
Mythical
Bruins.
Bear. Yeah.
Mythical Bears? All right.
Yeah.
Mythical Bears.
All right, that's our final four. Tritons versus Crimson Tide.
Well, again, Triton is very comfortable in any kind of tide, so it's got to be Triton.
Yeah.
All right, and the other matchup in the final four, Red Storm versus Bruins.
Again, tough because I don't know what all special powers Bruins have, but I think it's got to be the Storm.
It gotta be the Storm.
It's got to be the Storm. It could drown the Mythical Bear. And then our championship game is the Tritons versus the Red Storm.
It gotta be
And
the
it's the
Tritons.
Tritons.
As we've established, the Triton is home in a water spout. Fine.
Congratulations, Tritons.
Crazy.
So what
This
school?
is insane.
What is the actual school, Emily? That is the Tritons.
Oh,
I'm trying to remember.
University of California, San Diego.
Okay, so UCSD, that's your national champion.
Makes sense.
I got to go make
Tritons,
some
there you go.
changes to my March Madness bracket.
Yeah, just do another one. All right.
It's a mascot madness bracket challenge.
Well, thanks again to Jenn Johnson for joining us today. Well, like I mentioned, we are moving our podcast communication, our podcast family over to IG. If you're listening to the show, and you're still listening all the way at the end right now, make sure to follow us on Instagram at Relevant Podcast. We're also on Threads at Relevant Podcast. That's where we're going to do our interactive stuff, some behind the scenes stuff, clips, all that kind of stuff throughout the week. Be a good follow. Join us over there. Also, make sure to check out relevantmagazine.com every day where we are covering the intersection of faith, culture, and everything in between. There's a lot going on, some great content lately. You don't want to miss a thing. All right, on that note, we'll wrap it. I'm Cameron Strang.
I'm Jesse Carey.
I'm Derek Miner.
I'm Emily Brown.
We'll see you next Friday. Have a great week, everybody.
Happy Women's History Month.
Thanks for listening to the Relevant Podcast. Check out our features, interviews, and news updates every day at relevantmagazine.com. And make sure to follow Relevant on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest. For more great podcasts, browse the shows on the Relevant Podcast Network, which you can find at our site. And while you're there, don't miss the all-new era of Relevant Magazine. A new issue releases every other month at relevantmagazine.com.
It's a tube for this guy's snores.
Relevant Podcast Network.